Hi Virgo, welcome to your October 2016 love reading. As you can see, I have the cards out. I did start the reading and I'm starting it over again. I'm getting used to it though because I've been doing this for just about every reading. So anywho, the overall energy, which I just went through, is the Three of Cups. And this is about you letting your hair down. So maybe you've come out of a relationship and now you're calling your girlfriends or your boyfriends, I guess, but platonic friends, and saying, hey, let's reconnect. Maybe you kind of neglected them when you were in your last relationship and you're just kind of chilling, you're just laid back, you're not really involved in a serious relationship. Now, why would that be? Well, what was going on? As I say, since this is a love reading, I'm assuming that you were in a relationship. Now, this could have been with an earth sign. It could be that you got a divorce settlement and you got a little money from that, and now you're starting a new life. But whatever is happening, I feel like it's been a benefit to you in some way. It hasn't kind of caused any major hardships for you, because the Six of Pentacles is a money card and the Three of Cups is a celebration card. So it looks pretty good. It doesn't look like you're crying in your beer, so to speak. And what is happening right now, or your near future, has to do with the Queen of Wands. I really think this is more of your emotional nature and kind of connected to this, where there's a sense of happiness. Like maybe you're feeling a sense of happiness that you haven't felt in a long time for whatever reason. You're feeling confident. Sometimes when you're in a bad relationship, it can really eat away at your confidence. So maybe if you had to endure something like that, now you're starting to breathe a sigh of relief and you're starting to get back your good feelings. And that would be wonderful, because the Queen of Wands is a very positive figure. And she is always positive. Well, I just said that, but cheerful, is very confident in herself. She's a good leader. It could be like if you have your own business, it's being your own boss. And, like you're calling the shots, but you're also creative, you're also receptive. You have some of those feminine principles that are represented by, the Queen and some of the more feminine energies, like the Cups. Of course, in this case, it's just the Queen. The higher message is the Page of Pentacles. And, pages can relate to children. So for some people, it could be that you thought of your child and that's what led you to leave a former relationship. And you realized, and that reminds me, because the Queen relates to motherhood. So it could have been you thinking about your child over yourself when it came to a certain relationship and realizing that it wasn't healthy for your child. And if that's true for you, then your spirit guides or the universe is saying, good on you. You chose wisely. You chose for the right reasons. You weren't just being selfish in your decision. But, it could just mean that a message came through or will come through that will give you more understanding. Or maybe even, I don't necessarily think that you lack understanding of your situation. Sometimes people break up and they are always left with a bunch of questions because they never saw it coming, or they just can't understand, even if the person tries to explain, they don't understand what they mean. But I don't see, the cards don't emphasize anything about lack of clarity or negativity. they seem to be positive, cheerful cards. So my feeling is that this is more indicative of possibly maybe you're going to get a message, and maybe that message is going to be of assistance to you as you navigate being single. As I record this, we are in Mercury retrograde, and your sun sign is ruled by Mercury. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So, we have to emphasize that a little bit more when a Mercury retrograde occurs. And then likewise, does that mean that Mercury retrogrades affect your sign differently than they do the average person? I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be conflicting evidence in either direction, but I would say that it's significant, that Mercury retrogrades are significant for people who are ruled by Mercury, because they're transits, and transits are always symbolic of a stage, things that are happening, going into a different stage. And so it's possible that you might hear from somebody from your past during the Mercury retrograde, and maybe when October rolls around, you're going to be influenced by this. This is going to be a part of your current existence. What crosses you is the Eight of Pentacles. And so this can mean that you have to make sure that you're not trying too hard, that you're not trying to make something work that's just not workable. And this is because when you do that, a lot of times I feel like you create resistance to whatever it is that you want. You've heard the expression, he or she tried too hard. And people know when you're trying, to make something happen. And let's say you're a salesperson, and you get approached by a salesperson, and they're really pushy. And it makes you not want to buy whatever it is that they're selling because you don't like being pushed. Well, that's the same kind of thing how people feel when they're dealing with others who want to be in a relationship with them. People tend to not like pushy behavior. And even if it's on a very subtle level, if you're really wanting to get into a new relationship, it might backfire if you are exerting too much energy. And also, this card can suggest, in the challenge position, that you know when to cut your losses. You know when something just isn't working. And you don't just keep trying to beat your brains out, trying to make it work. What attitude is in your favor is is represented by the Judgment card. I think in one instance, we could say that this talks of knowing that cause and effect exist in the universe. In other words, if you feel like you were ever treated unfairly, you don't have to be upset about it, because everything is in divine order, even when it seems totally, grossly unfair. And likewise, another thing that I think is true is that the Judgment card, speaks of rebirth. And sometimes you just need to realize that you're in transition, that you're going to a new phase. And to just accept that this is happening and not to try to cling to the past. Not that you would, but to really see it, to really realize now I'm going into a new phase, and to be, proud of yourself, because you may have gone through a lot to get there. I think that's a big thing. It's a rebirth. And especially if you've been through a divorce, that must be very difficult. The advice is the Hangman card. So just like this card talking about not exerting too much force, this is about letting go and letting God. And just, strength in action. Passive it's not passive resistance, so it's passive acceptance. And if, you know, one of the big things I think, because I'm getting this feeling, obviously it's not going to be true for everybody, but of somebody who is, you know, open for a relationship. And you may not have much baggage, you may not have, but you're still like, maybe you've been single for a while and you're kind of like, okay, when is this happening? And now you're starting to get a little bit more aggressive, or maybe you're like, okay, now I need this to happen. I've been waiting long enough. And you still have to wait, you know, and in the meantime, be with people that are your friends, that get you, that support your dreams, and, you know, just be happy. If you you know, if you have your own business, if you want to start one, do that. Don't second guess yourself if that's something that you've always wanted to do, because that will, if you're pursuing a passion, that will make it all the easier for love to come into your life, because you've let go of resistance. This is about letting go of resistance. And in the law of attraction, I think that's half of the challenge, is letting go of resistance. And the outcome is the Ace of Swords. So it's really seeing, you know, it's really a new start. It's a victory card, actually. So I feel like with this card, it's like kind of like passing a test, graduating, and, you know, being able to, it's like that song, you know, I can see clearly now. It's like you really have this path towards getting what you want. And I feel like October for some of you may be quite a month of assessment about a lot of things, and just maybe not actually being in a relationship, but being able to be ready for the next one, you know, being the best you for the next relationship. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this, Virgo. If you'd like a private reading, there's a link below this video. Otherwise, have a great month. Bye.